Welcome to NFP Ocean's Meet the Member series. In this video, our founder Kerrie Sheaves is talking to Rory Forbes-Lange from Focus On Forbes Media about how photography and imagery can be used to help share your mission and brand story.
Welcome. We are talking with Rory, and we're going to find out all about what it takes to make sure you're getting great imagery for use in your not-for-profit organisation. So welcome, Rory. How are you?
Very well, thank you. Thanks for having me.
Fantastic. Well, let's get straight into it. What are some of the common mistakes that you see not-for-profit organisations making when it comes to using imagery and video as well in their communications?
Yeah, I think the number one for me when I see websites and content is there's quite a lot of stock imagery, and now with the onset of AI, there's a lot of AI imagery which isn't quite, it's not quite there yet. So for me, I can see that quite clearly, whether they've got real photos or not. And I think most people can. So it's like about building trust with your audience. You want to, be showing them what you're up to and what you're doing. And if you're using stock images and AI, it's not really going to land quite as well. So it can be a bit problematic in those areas because you want to increase, trust, getting your mission across and your whys, and that's a bit harder to do with stock and AI. So again, it's, authentic images are building trust with your audience, and that's the main goal of that. Yeah, and then it's around ethical storytelling. So this is honouring the dignity in the communities that are being represented.
Absolutely. So how do you think storytelling through imagery can increase connection to an organisation's mission and their activities?
Yeah, so it's the main point is giving potential donors or investors a window into your business and your mission. Red Kite have done this pretty well on their website. There's different sections where they have images from hospitals or events, and they're real images. I think most of them are some of them are just photos that families have taken or staff members have taken, but they're real images of real children, and it's very clear that you can see that. So it's building the trust, and it's showing what their mission is and how they're helping people, which is often one of the most important things to be doing.
And I suppose that's obviously putting the face behind some of the statistics, behind the mission, rather than just the clinical facts.
Yeah.
Connecting those clinical facts to real people, real issues, real places, whether it's animals, the environment, that imagery can connect people to what's actually going on, not just the numbers behind it.
Yeah, and it also helps as well. I use Red Kite as an example as well because I've worked with them once before at the SCG, and they partner with Sydney Swans once a year to do a big charity day at one of the games, and it's up on the billboards, and there's tens of thousands of people that are aware of this, and then there's families are invited to come to the game. And last year was 2024 when I did it last. They bring one of the kids on the pitch and do the coin toss, and it's about these partnerships and collaborations with other businesses that can help reach that wider audience. But in order to do this, sometimes you need the images in the first place to be able to show what your ideas might be, or where your impact is.
Absolutely. I think it's this chicken and egg. You want people to provide you more support, to partner with you, but you also need them to connect with you before that, but you haven't then got necessarily the testimonials of the fact that you've done that. So there's this very fine balancing act of having enough of a story to tell and connecting that emotively through imagery that is real and authentic, and the people that they interact with on the team, they actually see in the images rather than stock images. So there's a lot that can be gained from even just a small amount of investment up front before you have to do the whole hog, when you've actually got a lot more money behind you, and you can then obviously afford a bigger branding, set of imagery or videos. And so it's just about finding what's the right mix for you right now with the budgets that you have. And I think also the other thing we've talked about before is that, it's about also creating community, people meeting each other in a member-based organisation. People do business with people. So being able to connect with the imagery of people who are participating at events that they might want to, be a part of, or a sense of community, being able to capture that as a story that you're showing to the public and to potential donors, sponsors, partners, and members is pretty important. And I suppose, when you're going down the track of looking at how do I pick a supplier, what would be your key tips in regard to what I should look for if I'm looking for a supplier to help me?
Yeah, so I think one of the main points is finding someone that's professional, and this may depend on the budget where you're at, but the main thing with professionals are they're going to have their insurances in place. So they're going to have equipment insurance, and that's both to cover their equipment, but actually having backups if something goes wrong. So I have 2 cameras with me wherever I go. So if one fails, I have a backup. And then the other side of that is the public liability and having that cover in place. So the SCG, for example, I think I needed to have 10 million minimum public liability. It might have been 20 million, I can't remember. It depends on the venues. So if you don't have that in place and you, for whatever reason, got down to the day or the day before and then realised you're a little bit stuck then, because they're not going to be able to come on the premises, and then you've lost that opportunity potentially.
Yeah, that's a big issue, because I think, often smaller organisations don't think about what suppliers they're using and whether those suppliers, and this is, I think, particularly true when it does come to your video, your events companies. These things that people are not part of their normal team on a day-to-day basis, and so they assume that anyone who's offering a service like a photographer already has all these insurances in place, and they don't even ask, they don't check. But what often happens with any kind of larger or professional venue, whether it's a shopping centre, whether it's a pub or club, whether it's a park or a council-run facility, they will ask you as a not-for-profit organisation for a copy of not just your insurance policies, but you're warranting that your suppliers have those necessary insurances. Now, if something, of course, happens and goes wrong, you as an organisation would be held liable for that. And of course, there's costs associated with it. We also talked about the issue of working with children checks. This is something that a lot of maybe novice photographers aren't aware of, the fact that they could be, when working with not-for-profit organisations, working with young or vulnerable people, taking photographs of them, or being asked to take photographs, or being around small children or vulnerable people. So, it's not just equipment, it's also the other risk management issues that NFPs should be thinking about too. So if I'm going down the line saying, okay, I've got an event, or I've got an important brand story that we're trying to capture, to be able to put us out there in public and gain more support, and I think I've got a professional photographer like yourself who's signed on to help me, what is it that I need to actually be thinking about as a not-for-profit to be ready to start using your photography services? What should I be preparing?
I think your goals are one thing. So what you're looking to achieve with the content or event or whatever you have going on. Just having some idea of what are they going to be used for is helpful as well. So is it internal or is it external? Like social media, website, could be brochures. If it's internal, it's just keeping your staff informed of what's happening, or potential investors. There's a range of different things that can factor in the priorities for events and what you capture or what you're looking to cover. And also factoring in budgets, these kind of budgets into your applications for grants. When you're putting all of this together, you want to factor that in to allow you to have that room to help showcase what you're doing, really. And that's super important. I think we've loosely discussed it before, how some people don't think about that in the initial phase, and it's later on when budgets have been used that that's kind of become a bit of an issue.
You're absolutely right there, and this is actually a space where, when we're trying to, as not-for-profit, demonstrate impact from projects, so we often will get grant funding to deliver a program, and we know we're going to have to acquit and report, and that's fine, because we generally are focusing on, how many people participated, what were the key outcomes they achieved. But we quite often, when we're putting together a grant application, we don't realize that we have to capture stories. We actually do need to provide testimonials. That usually will include some sort of photographic evidence, or one or two people who are, sitting in front of a camera talking about what it was that changed in my life. If it's some sort of event, workshop, planting trees, whatever it might be, you've actually got to capture evidence of this, and that comes at a cost. Now, it can obviously be repurposed to be able to use for promotional activities and potentially for more grants down the track. But if you haven't factored that budget into the actual grant application to make sure that's professionally captured, you get caught short at the point in time when you actually do need to start paying for those services. So these are things you can actually get grant money for, but talking to people like yourself to understand what budget should I set to be able to do that before you've actually put the application in is a great way to tackle that. Generally, how much lead time does a service like yours need before a project to have enough time to be able to deliver well? What kind of period of time?
Yeah, I think this can vary. I think the short answer would be minimum a month, ideally. But if you're looking at a whole year and you're able to have a conversation with someone about, these are my dates over the next year, I have 6 events I'd like to cover, that's probably the best scenario. Then it comes into, you can discuss contracts and retainers and get reduced rates because it's for a whole year contract. It's going to make things a lot more efficient, and you're going to get a lot more quality, I guess, for the money, because it's planned and it's well executed throughout the year. But yeah, I'd say minimum would be a month to 8 weeks would be ideal, because I book 2 or 3 months in advance sometimes with some clients. Some will book me a month before, and that's okay. But often, in busy seasons as well, like we are now, it's tricky to find that balance. Like there will be, some mismatches in busy periods.
I do find in practice, it's often, especially when it's events, the thing that gets forgotten and left to the very last, where someone says, who's actually going to be taking pictures of this event? Realizing that they do need it professionally done, but they've forgotten to line up their photographer and make sure that they've got the quote, they've booked it in, and there's been some sort of briefing process provided to the photographer about what it is we actually want to capture and why. And I think going back to that goals and planning of how you're going to use the content is really important. And one of the important elements of that, I think, is around the recognition of your supporters. So when you have donors or partners, particularly business partners, there is this high expectation that there will be professional photography, professional video, that they are able to also leverage to show, look at the amazing things that we're doing, because they've often invested in a not-for-profit, whether that's as a sponsor for an event or a program, not just out of the goodwill of their heart, but because it's a marketing exercise for them. This is a way for them to leverage brand through ESG and good, community service, but they have to be able to use that to build their business with. So they can't really use your sister's brother's girlfriend who's taken a few snaps on their iPhone in their own social media. They are looking for something a little bit more professional than that. So even if for a not-for-profit, you're thinking, we can just get one of the team to take a few photos to capture the day, you need to probably think a little broader than that and say, who else is actually going to need these photographs, because it's going to help them to want to support us more and to invest more with us. So having a bit of a longer term view, I think, is important.
And that's definitely the thing with, it's, I've been shooting events for over 10 years, so I see things that somebody that isn't shooting professionally won't see. There's years and years of experience and mistakes and learning, and that works. And then the other thing I didn't mention with that as well is, if you have sponsors, you need to be capturing those sponsors' logos, or you need to be making sure that all those interactions are facilitated, so they're going to want to continue sponsoring. It isn't always just about the investments and internal. It's, you know, it could be one-off sponsors or annual sponsors for certain events and charities that needs to be, you know, it needs to be shown where their sponsorship's going, I guess.
Absolutely. And I think that is critical, because ultimately when someone does sponsor an event or a program, visibility is the key outcome they're looking for. It is usually part of their marketing budget. So yes. Them being seen behind the podium with their logo on their banner near them, you know, congratulating or handing out the prize, or with the premier or whoever it is that they want to be seen to be in front of, and that it's well lit, that it's shot well, they don't look terrible, because that's the other factor, is that a good photographer can make people look really good, whereas a bad photographer doesn't understand lighting, doesn't understand, you know, the way they need to hold the camera to be able to capture people in their best element. And there's nothing worse, and I've sat down and gone through photos from events where people have taken heaps and heaps of photos, and you're trying to find a good shot. And you're thinking, I cannot send this stuff out. I can't share this with the sponsor. They would kill me if I put this on social media. So the difference between thinking through who's going to use this, what is it going to help us achieve, how does it serve us, and how do we make sure we've got the right resources actually doing the job for us, is a really important investment overall in your organisation's branding and your donor and supporter strategy. So let's talk, sorry, go on.
Sorry, and that's the other thing as well. There's, with events, you have moments to capture things. You don't have minutes. It's something can happen very quickly, or if you have celebrities or prime minister, ministers, whoever they might be that are supporting it, they might only have a short window for them to take some photos, or, you know, the coin toss at the beginning of the game, is you don't have time to get that wrong. There's one opportunity to get that right. So it's, again, comes down to that risk management side of things as well, where you want to make sure that you're not going to miss, you know, where you're putting your investment, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's talk a little bit about budget, because obviously this is the number one question that every NFP asks is, well, what's it going to cost me to do this? So when we're talking about budget, how much budget should I allow for? And, you know, what if I'm just in the process of trying to just even get a quote for a grant, but I don't even know if I'm going to get the grant yet. How do I navigate that? What would be your suggestions about budget and grant quotes?
I think firstly, if you're looking for some quotes, I think just being upfront with the photographer to say, I'm looking for some information to help support my grant. I think just being upfront that they know the level of attention they need to give straight away, or if they're thinking about holding dates, there's, you know, I need some help figuring this part out, and then, you know, in 6 months' time or 3 months' time, you know, we might be able to engage. So I think just being upfront and honest to start with is really helpful. And then in terms of average cost, it depends on length of event and what you'll need covering, but it can range from, for professionals, anywhere from 600 up to 1,500 to 2,000 for a whole day. And that's kind of the ballpark I would suggest for a professional. Video can be a bit more, it'd probably be 1,000 up to 2,500. And again, that depends on the scope. Pre-production, post-production, whatever else is needed, that can vary, you know, that can vary quite a lot.
So just a question on that. So there's obviously components to what happens in a photography shoot. You've got some initial planning around, well, what is it that we're looking to do, you know, the event details or the activity details. Then you've got the actual shoot process, which is capturing what is actually the activity at that time. And then you've got that post-production, which is going through, making sure you've culled through all of the, you know, the crappy shots that, you know, were fired off. You go, no, we're not going to use those. To cull that down to a set of images which are ready for the client to look at. One of the things that I have noticed working with photographers over the years is that I often needed to have someone on my team who was willing to then go through what was that post-production output to determine, okay, from this reasonably large range still of images that are available to us, particularly if it's an event, because there's often a lot of images captured, which ones are we going to use and which ones are we going to discard or just put into a folder and maybe come up with later? How much, I suppose, of a design eye does someone in the client's team actually need to have to be able to support that process of, post-production with you?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think, again, this comes down to experience. I feel like what I deliver, you're going to be able to use more of what I deliver than not. So I'm already thinking about these things while I'm shooting. I'm making space on one part of the image, so some text might be able to be put on there, or having a mix of portrait and landscape so you can mix across whatever mediums you need, and just making sure it's not about ticking boxes per se, but it's like you want to cover as much as you can and have the most use cases possible, so it becomes the best return on investment, essentially. In terms of people in a team, I think it's helpful. I've worked with great people that they have a good understanding of these things, so it really depends on the team that you have in place. It's definitely helps to have that input, and that the brief process or the pre-production, you want to have some of those things in place to communicate what's going to be used, why it's going to be used, and that can help the post-production process.
Yeah, and I think it's also about time. So what I have found in practice that a lot of not-for-profit organisations, they get given this file full of really great photos that are ready to go, ready to use, but they sit on them for a really long time and they don't actually have a plan. They haven't allocated time to go through and then start using them. They've got busy doing other things. The event is over. They're busy dealing other administration, and they haven't actually factored time in to capitalise on the investment they've just made of having a photographer. Obviously it's a frustration to the photographers and to the videographers because they've just produced amazing work and it disappears, nobody sees it. And then there's questions about, is it worth us getting photography done because we didn't really use it? Well, actually, the problem wasn't the quality of the photography or the price point and the investment. There was no plan by that organisation about how they were going to use that file, get it out there, connect it into the dots of their marketing processes quickly, and also in making sure that their sponsors, supporters, people who are participating were also able to leverage those images as well. So I think also when we're looking at overall, what's my plan to use imagery in storytelling, it's not about just the pre-work of how we think we're going to do it. It's also about what happens after the day when we've actually got all that information ready to go and that content. What's our process of cannibalizing that and then actually using it so that we get really good high return on the exercise?
Strategy is definitely key. And one of the things that would be helpful is creating content pillars. So you might pick 3 to 5 things that your organization discuss or talk about on social media, on your website, mostly social media, but it can apply to everything else as well. And it could be, community outreach, or it could be team member shout outs, or, spotlights on team members and what they're doing. You could have an education piece about what you're doing and why you're doing it. So then you start to cycle through these different pillars, like maybe 3 times a month. So 1 week, on a Monday and Wednesday and a Friday, you start dissecting things down to this day we talk about this day we talk about this. And then the next month you change it, or you keep going and seeing how it's going. So I think it really comes down to that strategy and just having an idea of how you're going to use things to begin with.
Absolutely. And I think also thinking about it over a longer period of time. So we often think, well, I've had this event this week. If I I've got to put all the content out next week. That's it. It's burnt content. I can't use it again. But we forget that people don't actually see all your content in that week you put it out. So thinking about how you can repurpose the content you have across multiple streams, across a much longer period of time by leveraging it in different ways, or even saying, hey, we just really loved, last month we enjoyed this and we're looking forward to this one coming up, but you're actually leveraging imagery from last month's to promote this month's activity. So actually thinking about it on a longer scale and a repurposing plan, not just a once done, once used process, means you get a lot longer life and of course a much higher return on investment of the images. I love the idea around meeting your staff, meeting your volunteers. It's a wonderful way to recognise people. It's also connecting that human story to the organisation, its mission, with your supporter base. And it's a really great way to be able to show there's diversity amongst the team that's working with you in lots of different ways. Fantastic. Well, look, I would highly recommend, if you're a not-for-profit out there and you're thinking, how do we connect people more with what we're doing? How do we connect more supporters and partners to our mission? And how do we tell our story in a more impactful way, to really consider how you use professional photography as a key anchor for that? And connecting with people like Rory and others out there who are able to help you really use content well and to capture that professionally at a reasonable price to get a really good return on investment, it is worth doing. Rory, I just want to thank you for sharing your insights on what it means to tell stories through images. You can find out more information about Focus on Forbes Media to find out how you can help your not-for-profit organisation grow and get bigger impact this year. You can find information on his website, but you can also find it on NFP Ocean. You can join us at any time. Thanks, Rory.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Fabulous.
You can find out more information about Focus on Forbes Media and the resources and services you need to grow your NFP at www.nfpocean.com. NFPs can join us for free.